right, Shalom Rastafari, Melkam Pesach, Melkam Fasika. Beautifully good Passover week, the Passover strong for Aina Rastafari. Hopefully we'll go into a little more of, some of the main convocations, the main gathering togethers, and what are the Shabbats, because there are certain Shabbats. This is a Shabbaton, and there's the weekly Sabbaths, and then there is the annual Sabbaths. That's one of the reasons why ones are not able, not that they're not able, but why they don't count, why they're not able to count the 3 days and 3 nights that Yeshua HaMoshiach, that he spoke about, those 3 days and 3 nights, which is the whole groundation to our Lord, our Adonai's supper. We'll touch on that a little bit more, but right here, just touch on one subject matter. It's kind of a little bit of a triage on certain subject matters and issues right here. We're still lining this up right here. Let's do this like this. Let's get the verse, but it's going to be on the 400 years. Why is there so much trouble in the world? Jah children, Jah people, Jah boys, and Jah girls. Why is there so much trouble in the world? It seems like things are just jumping off one after the next. Ever since the first trumpet, right? Ever since Trump. He reminded me a lot about Mussolini. I was just talking about that before I even started to record. Just something about Mussolini. He has that kind of, I don't know, and I'm not saying this against people, who want to have certain in this world, a lot of diseases, but he has this kind of like almost like an evil Down syndrome, kind of something about him, But he think he's great. He got money, He trusts in that money, and he's appealing to that so-called bottom line, but definitely a fascist, We said the new suit, right? We say he's the new suit. You remember that? The new suit? The suitin, one of the alleged words that refers to some sort of like a pharaoh, almost like the pharaoh of the Exodus. Is he the pharaoh of the persecution? Is he the pharaoh of the Exodus? Which pharaoh? Where are we in the time-space continuum? Where are we right now? Do you know where you're at? Do you know what time it is? You're seeing a lot of signs. Life is one big road. As we trot in this road, especially in this 2017, there's a lot of signs and more signs. Well, here's a very big sign, and we touched on it and talked about it in a few other videos, along with whatever the main subject matter we were seeking to bring forward. And it's interesting because with what's going on, even with the EU and the UK leaving the EU, and Theresa May, or you may not, and also with the most recent, what was it, 50 or so, Tomahawk missiles, the airstrikes on Syria, over here, over there. They're talking about Korea. There's wars and rumors of wars. But Rabboni Yeshua HaMoshiach says, see that we be not troubled. All right. Not to be troubled, not to let your heart be troubled about these things. He told us the end from the beginning, but a very important end, as it were, is coming forward. Right. And I know a lot of ones talk about, there's war. There's war in Babylon. The war is about to begin. The war is beginning. This is the beginning of war. The beginning of war. Wars are appointed until the end. Right? But then again, the counterfeit spirits and the counterfeit whorehouses called churches, they tell them, don't look at Daniel's prophecy. Don't look at Revelation. Just keep your eye on that bunny rabbit, that Easter bunny. And the eggs and all of that kind of stuff. Playboy, peace, the peace sign. Is that something? The peace sign is the Playboy bunny. But anyway, there's no such thing as Easter, and, if you're in one of those counterfeit Christian denominations that refuse to acknowledge the truth, then we'll say, get out, come out of Babylon, my people. Now, to the rest of y'all, if you're not Jah people, you want to stay in Babylon, then we don't got nothing else to say to you, except that fearful judgment coming forward. But here, the word 15 and 13, Genesis 15 and 13. This is about the 400 years. You know the tune, right? 400 years. All right. For us as the once lost, now found black and brown sheep of the Beta Israel. I'm talking about real Israel, not the Jews who call themselves Jews, all that stuff going on in the pseudo so-called Middle East. That's important. And there's a prophecy for that. There's a word for that. But, first you give the children, Jah children, and the children of true black Israel, the children's bread, because even this they don't let fall off of the Masa's table. They don't want to let you know about this, because when you start to see who we are, if you don't know that Israel in the latter days is we, the black and brown, once lost, now found sheeple, Jah sheeple, the black people of the house of Israel in the Americas, here in this North Country and all the other countries where Jehovah has so driven us, then almost everything that you think you understand about Bible and Bible prophecy and the scripture will more or less confuse you. All right. So let's get this straight right here. 400 years. We've spoken about that. We've chanted about that. Our ancestors before even the plantations, they knew there was this prophecy. That's why many of us and even many of the so-called black and the brown and the Israelites and the Israelitizers and teasers out there, of the other black Hebrews and Israelite denominations, and they speak about the 400 years too, right? And who we are, and where we're at and what's the prophecy for that? Where's the evidence? They've proven that, the basics, right? But this is important, the prophecy, 400 years. They say, this is what they say, according to what they say that some of the first, this is where it starts out according to history, and many of our historians also point to that. Very good book some books to check out. I think we have maybe a soft copy or a readable copy of at least one or more of those. You can check out RastafariGroundation.org. For Rudolph R. Windsor's From Babylon to Timbuktu. That's very, very important, right? Just to get some of the background context to who is true Israel. You see that remnant, the election, the true Israel in the latter days. Rudolph R. Windsor's From Babylon to Timbuktu is a very, very good read and study. That's the basic foundation there. Along with that now, once you get that basic foundation, the next book by Rudolph R. Windsor is Valley of the Dry Bones. Right? Speaking of the conditions that face so-called black people, speaking about the lost, found, black and brown, the sheeple of the house of Israel, in America, right? In this North Country, according to the prophecy and according to the reality. Now, they say that our patriarchs and matriarchs and our ancestors, the Hebrews, the enslaved Igbos and Ebos and Hebrews, Hebos, right? They call many different bywords, but really the Hebrews, black and brown Hebrews, that it began in 1619. I said 1619. This is what, the accepted history basically, tells us. So let's just take that as a point of, origin, a point of beginning for this part of our history, so-called, right? And part of the mystery of the prophecy. So since 1619, they said the first so-called slaves or the enslaved Hebrews and black and brown Jews were brought over here. Our people, our ancestors from Africa, right? They said it was 1619. Right? So now you start to do the math on that. Now, if the prophecy is correct and is true, and we don't have any reason to doubt it because we see the signs, we recognize what the true time is, so we recognize the signs of the time. So if that being true, 1619, if you add 400 years, can you do the math on that? Now, I know there are a lot of ones, talk about Good Friday, and somehow they're able to count 3 days from Friday to Sunday morning. I don't know. If you're doing that kind of math, go get a calculator. No, just get a calculator. Put in 16, 19, and plus 400, 400. Right? Not 00, not 00. No, it's 400, not 400, 400. Right? 400, 16, 19. I'm not being funny before, because, Babylon is doing a lot of things to confuse us. This hopefully will be helpful for some. Right? And so what's the result? What's the end product? 2019. It's interesting. Remember Theresa May, or may not? Remember Theresa May, the prime minister, right, of the Uckery, right, of the UK. She said that in that speech where she said that they're respectfully leaving out of the EU and all of that to do their own thing, go their own way and everything, but it's going to take them about 2 years. I thought that was interesting. And on the Upper Room of Zion, I think our previous podcast and broadcasting, that was from the 4th, 5th, I think it was the 6th, April, if I'm correct, April 6th, the Upper Room of Zion, and give thanks to I and I, fellow Chaber, one of I and I Chaberim, Brother Yefteya, for bringing that word forward, sharing that news and the reasoning that we were able to have afterward. But anyway, they're out of the so-called EU. The UK is out of the EU, but it's going to take them about 2 years. I thought it was interesting that she points out that 2 years. And I say, wait, hold on for a moment. This is 2017. Right? It seems as though they are rushing. Doesn't it seem like they're not Russian, not Putin, Python, not Python, Putin. We're not talking about the Python, the Putin. We're not talking about Putin, right? We're talking about rushing like they are like rats. It's a rat race. Like they are kind of like, almost like those pigs, you remember in the parable? Well, it's a parable, but it's a reality to it too, with those pigs going off the cliff, those demon possessed pigs, going off the cliff and everything. Yeah, it's interesting because they seem to be rushing to something. They seem to, it's like somehow they know they have when Satan recognizes, when the devil recognizes he's got a little bit of time, according to the word, he comes out in a great rage and wrath against the woman, right? And against her children. Right? And we're talking about the real woman, the true church. Right? So right here, I'm looking at this, I'm saying, Chan, that 400 years prophecy, basically this will be the 398th year. Right? The 398th year. Do you think that's significant? Now, of course, some of y'all will say, well, I didn't see it on CNN or Fox or, MSG, NBC. Is MSN, what's the difference? You know what I mean? It's addictive, right? But it really it's not very good for you, right? But anyway, you're not going to see it over there. They're not going to speak about this, right? Because they don't want to even see, for them to speak about this, that means they're going to have to acknowledge openly and in public. See, they already acknowledge it secretly. They acknowledge secretly that you so-called black and brown people are the once lost, now found sheep of the house of Israel. Y'all been waking up. Right? Even though they've been trying to put you to sleep, so it's this kind of like almost like you want to get up, but somebody's trying to put you back to bed and everything. I want to get up, but they were pushing you back down. You want to get, you want to get up, but they're down pressing you. Every time you try to get up, every time you pressing up, they say, oh, you're being oppressive, talking about that racial stuff. I guess if they're not affected by it, basically it doesn't bother them. But this is ours. This is our something. You know what I mean? And we really need to know about it. So this year, 2017, where we're at right now is in the 398th year, right? 398th year of a very significant prophecy. And it's the one thing and the one aspect of a lot of things that are being talked about, from the Bible and the scriptures, but this is not really being spoken about. But when you put this into its proper context, right? Once you recognize it explains all of that, fuck shit going on in the Middle East. I mean, straight up, it just explains that. You'd be like, oh, wow. These people, Jews who call themselves Jews, but are not. But it says in the Bible, synagogue of Satan. Oh, my goodness. No wonder they be oppressing black people who have more, living evidence to be who they claim as Israelites and as Hebrews, Ethiopian Jews. I mean, there's the Africans who are really Hebrews and Israelites. You see what's going on? You see what's going on? You don't get it just yet, right? Well, okay. But you say they took jazz and they took hip hop and they took blues and the thousands of, scientific inventions, it wasn't just, what was it? Washington Carver, you know what I mean? It wasn't just him, and his inventions. But anyway, that's a whole related subject matter. But let's get to the prophecy right here. So we're speaking about this prophecy, right? This prophecy right here, the sunken place. You see down here, this is a sunken place. See all that black right there? Well, that's not really black. That's darkness. You see these people right here, right? These people right here in the ship, right? Those are black people. But you see, that's the light. You see the light right there, right? The light shines in, you see right here? The darkness, but the darkness, the ignorance. Ones want to play ignorant. Well, why does that matter? Why does it matter what color Jesus is? It must matter to them to keep counterfeiting these pictures and pushing them on our little babies. You don't recognize the significance of that. Black folks always talking about, oh, they're trying to make our image. Black folks are conscious of their image. Like somebody trying to, make them look stupid or mess up their image. But what about the image of our black Lord and Savior and his mother, the Black Madonna, Our Lady? What about their image? You see, you don't understand the deep psychological aspect of this. You know what I mean? It probably take a couple of maybe vids and a little more research to really try to simplify it and bring it out. But this is the first thing. This is something basic. Our people have been over here for nearly 400 years. And now, according to the so-called accepted documentation, that captivity, which is biblical prophecy. Ask yourself, how many churches out there, they preach all this stuff about the Hebrews and the Israelites and all that. How many of them have ever even spoken about that 400 years? They'll tell you about other things. Oh, the Jews, the white Jews, they mean, have a right to that land. And as soon as we start to reclaim our heritage, they say, oh, you're trying to take something. You're trying to act like you're trying to. No, we're not. We're being who we be. All right. That's who we were born again to be. But let's look at the prophecy. Genesis 15:13. And he, speaking of Jehovah, Yahweh, Yahuwah, speaking of he who he be, his divine majesty, Haile, Selassie, Father, strength and redeemer. Yeah. Oh, he said to Abram, right? So he who he be, Jehovah said to Abram, Father Abram, right? Our black father, Abram, know of a surety, know for sure that thy seed. See seed right here? Seed is race. When you talk about seed, we're speaking about race. You know what I mean? You're talking about race. Who's your father? All right? Who's your daddy? You see what happened? You see what they've been doing to us? All right? You see how they've been disorientating us? All right? Know of a surety that thy seed, thy race, thy zera'ah, right? According to the Hebrew, like almost like when they say la raza, zera, right? The seed, the black race, right? And once you put the black race, let me put this into context. We're not just talking about all the just melanated people in the world. Not in terms of this prophecy here. We were speaking about a particular melanated people. All right, speaking about the black and the brown people here in this North Country of America and all the countries where we have been scattered, right? This particular seed, this particular black race, in other words, the black race of Isreal, right, of Israel, the once lost, now found, black and brown sheeple, the sheeple, Josh sheeple, all right? See, that's another thing. Some people say everybody's a sheeple, and everybody's not a sheeple. They're another kind of animal or something, it's there in the scriptures, but they're not sheeple, right? Okay, well, who's their shepherd? Well, we're not going to go there right now, but know this for sure, that thy seed, thy race shall be a stranger, right? Now, some Negroes want to tell you, like, well, they won't go back to like creation or something like that. Like say, well, black people been all around the world, like people who had melanation. Okay, we know that. All right. So those ones right there, we just cut that off. They're cut off. This is not for them either. Right. So if you say, well, America's really ours, such and such. Well, I hope Josh strengthens the hands of the Native Americans. You trying to take their land because you a self-hating black or brown Jew. You a self-hating Israelite. Hope you get what you get. Try and steal from somebody else. Know for sure that the seed of black father Abraham, the black patriarch, is a stranger. Right? Either you could say, I guess, a stranger, an alien, a foreigner. That's what you're always saying. Well, how come they don't do this for us? We've been here. How come they don't do it? You don't get it. They treat like you strange. You're like, don't you know me? They say, who are you? Show me some ID. They don't know you, homie. You're a stranger. You're strange. That's reality. Facts, prophetic facts in a land, that is not theirs. You see, the niggas always want to say, how come we don't got nothing here? How come we don't own nothing? How come we can't get nothing here? Because listen, you are a stranger in a strange land. And you know what? They make sure they remind you about it. Every year for nearly, 398 years. Every year for the past almost 400 years, they have been very dutiful to remind you of that. But yet, you listen to these boule Pharisees and these boule Sadducees and these boule Herodians that just keep fooling you, keep lying to you, right? This is in the Bible too. How come they don't tell you about this, huh? Know of a surety. So you got to know this. Right? You got to know this. Know this for sure. No doubt about it. Agodi. There's no doubt in it that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs. This land is not ours. Now, you might own some piece of land, you might own some property, so to speak. That's even like a legal fiction right there, because really, if you own some land because the American government says, oh, you own this land, they're liars. You know that, right? You know they're liars. Because how do they own the land? You see what I'm saying? You see, what you don't know is that even many of the Native Americans, right? And some of them are, part our Israelitish, black brothers. Some of them, not all of the Indians, not all of the so-called Native Americans. That's a whole other subject matter right there. But overall, right? Thy seed, the seed of Israel, the seed of black Israel is a stranger in a land that is not theirs, is not ours. So if you got something here, you use it while you can use it. Use it for what you can use it for. But don't be surprised, when things turn around, we're trying to just warn you to prepare, preparation, right? A word to the what? Wise should be sufficient and shall serve them. Shall do what? It says right here, shall serve them, right? Shall work, right? Shall serve, shall till. Let's bring up that word right here because it really goes well with what we already have on the screen right here. Let's show one this right here. You see the word? The word is abad. Now go ask some of your Arab friend enemies and stuff about that. They'll tell you about that. What do they call black people? They call them Abed, right? The black people like Africans and East Africans and other, so-called Africans, but black people, they regard them as Abed, like Abdullah, but that's like serving of their deity. You know what I'm saying? Abed, right? Some people say, oh, it's all the same, God. Just shut your mouth, you blasphemer. Right? H5647. To work, right? It means to work in any sense. It doesn't sound too bad right there, right? Work. See, that's how the enslavers look at it. Our ancestors were working for them. They came over here. What that coon say? He said they came over here as, undocumented? Undocumented? We came over here as documented. Enslaved. We wasn't undocumented. We came over here as migrant workers, as with temporary workers? Well, maybe in that sense, because 400 years is almost here. 400 years is almost here. Do you know what time it is? Do you know what time it is? Do you know where your children are? Do you know who your family is? Right? To work in any sense, by implication, to serve or to till. Who tilled the land? Who brought over rice? I know a lot of one would think like the Asian, Chinese, they brought over rice. Well, maybe on the West Coast, but it was black people, the Hebrews, who brought over rice over here, a lot of other kind of crops, tilled the land, served and tilled the land, right? Now look at this one right here. This is the third one here. Let's open that up. See what it says? Causatively, right? Causatively, let's open that up a little more. To enslave. You see that right there? To enslave. Right? To enslave. Right? So when we look at the prophecy, it says, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them. Right? So, see, that's what black folks, a lot of us got a little confused, and some are still confused. You figure that I got some paperwork, right, that says that I own this piece of land. All right. Now, the question I'm going to ask you is, who gave you the paperwork? Was it any of the true native owners of the land gave you that paperwork? Did they sign off on that? Who signed off on that? Okay. The same ones who brought your monkey asses over here, right? I mean, come on. If you're going to be playing like that, you're going to really, not accept the truth, then monkey see, monkey do. But let's look down here. How's this word translated in the Bible? KJV, King James Version. It says to be or kept in bondage, to be in bondage. Who was over here in America in bondage? Who is of the seed of those who are over here in America in bondage? All right. Some people say, oh, you're playing the race card. You're damned. But you know what? You're right. You're damned. You're right. You're damned. You're right. It's a race card because race is seed. We just explained that. Zer, right? The Zer is a seed, is a particular group of people, right? From a common, you could say, ancestor, a particular seed. You know what I'm saying? Like we come from Father Abraham's sperm, in other words. You see what I'm saying? You come from whoever your father is. Whoever your ancestors is. You know what I mean? Whoever they be. You know what I mean? That's your race or your seed, according to the Bible, biblically. Right? So it says to be bondmen. So who in America was bondmen? Right? Who in America was bondmen? And who are the seed, right? Who are the seed of those who in America were bondmen? Am I talking about the fact that, okay, different people may have had to work? We're not talking about just regular work here. You know what I'm saying? Look at the prophecy. Bond service. Bond. See, the bond here is not like, okay, you do a crime and then you need like bond or something. You know what I mean? Or bail bond. We're not talking about that kind of bond. No, we're not talking about that kind of bond. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about like bonds like chains and, chains on the hands and chains on the feet then. Huh? Thank you very much. Yes, Miskana, Amasignalo. Stocks and bonds. Stocks. Now you want to talk about Wall Street? You really want to talk about Wall Street? Why they had the wall to begin with? You know what I'm saying? There's a very good documentary, Slaves of New York. If any of you have that, please make a copy and, link guy and I at the contact at rastafarigroundation.org. If you have a copy of, there's a very good documentary we saw. We have some bits and bites of it, but not the whole contiguous, the whole documentary. It's called Slaves of New York. It's a document, not that foolish movie they put out. They put out some stupid movie by the same name. See, that's how they do it, because somebody got a documentary through. I think it was on A&E, and they didn't even play it no more on A&E and everything. So some of y'all might have it, and maybe you've come across it somewhere out there. Just send a link. Even if somebody is selling it or whatnot like that, just send a link. Just be good to, get close to seeing that documentary again and sharing that with one-to-ones. It's a very, very good documentary. Slaves of New York. Right? So anyway, it means to compel, to do, to dress, to ear, to execute, husbandman, keep, labor. You can go down and down and down this. You see the last one right here? Here's what's interesting. Worshiper. It's all connected with bondman. That's when we talk about our ancestors, the Hebrews, the Periu, right, the Ha-Ibrim in Egypt. When it says that they were bondmen, some think that it was only like in the synagogue of Satan, satanized like movies, when they show you or the cartoons is BS, so that movie Exodus, false whitewashed gods and kings. It was just a fake ass movie, but the whole link with worshiper and Ebed. The Muslims, they call black people Ebed, and they call people who worship the rock Ebed, Abdullah, whatever, the Abed. It's the same root right there. You know what I'm saying? So when they were in Egypt, it wasn't just the so-called physical side of like just like slavery in America, but it has become, in other words, our situation has become like their situation where people even worship the system. They worship the beast. They worship the beast. They worship the system. So a lot of this was probably going to go over their heads, that they don't even have a head above water no more. You know what I mean? But still, if God is so merciful, but let's go on right here. Let's get into this right here. Right? We're halfway in this verse right here. We have to break this verse down. Right? People read through it and say, yeah, I understand. But then you question them. They don't, let's test our knowledge. So it says that our ancestors, right, were a seed of people, a particular race of people. That's why they feared so much the whole black and black power so-called idea. Because they know that when we as once lost now found, when we are standing on solid ground and we refer to ourselves as a race of people, they know that we are not even just saying, okay, just Africans or different tribes, because they're their own tribes too. You see what I'm saying? And this is not any sort of dishonor or whatever, but it's a dishonor to try to act like their experience and our experience is the same experience, because they're about what is important to them and we should be about what's important to us. Now, if we both are about things that are important to us, maybe we can then see some so-called common ground on some issues now or in the future. You see what I'm saying? So we're strangers in a land that's not ours, right? That's not ours. And that should become very, very clear. But some niggers, some niggers, they don't want to see that there, because they flash a couple of niggers in front of you, and say, look what this nigger has been able to do. And he said, look, also it's possible. And then you waste like another generation, right? But everything that begins has to come to an end, right? Everything that has a beginning got to have an ending, right? And that's what they know. They know that this whole game, right? That the game is coming to an end, but they've been trying to hype it up and amp it up, but the game is coming to an end. Their game is coming to an end. They know these things. So when you're seeing these things happen day by day and steadily increasing in the news and these wars and these rumors of wars, yes, it is biblical prophecy. Right? But if one's eyes are blind to see that the once lost now found sheep of the house of Israel is black people, especially in the Americas and the Caribbean, then everything they think they understand will only serve to confuse, right? Only serve to confuse them. That's why it says in Revelation chapter 12, right? In Revelation chapter 12, let's look at this right here, right? In chapter 12, verse 13. Now, they are the Jews who call themselves Jews, right? Right? Those who call themselves Jews according to the Bible, and they are not. And it's very clear because even many of them, beside them saying Jews, some of them are just Luciferian. They believe in evil shit. They promote evil shit. They profit off of evil shit. And you have to ask yourself, if you know even just half of the Torah, I'm not speaking about the Talmud Bavli, their Babylonian teaching, but if you know what the true Torah teaches, you'd be like, you are the synagogue of Satan. If that's what you believe in. If you're not, then be like some of the remnant of the Jews that have spoken out, the so-called Khazarians as Jews have spoken out. Yes, they might get martyred. Some of them did get martyred for speaking out. I mean, they killed their own people that basically revealed to the world that they're a fraud. You see what I'm saying? But at least it's good for them. It'll be good for them in the life to come, in the world to come, for that. So take example. So here it's speaking about Satan, right? Synagogue of Satan, right? Satan and Israel in the tribulation, right? Satan and Israel in the tribulation. In other words, the counterfeit, the counterfeit Jews, the counterfeit Christians, right? And Israel, right? The true black and brown sheep of the house of Israel. We're in tribulation right now. Verse 13, 12:13 says, and when the dragon saw that he was cast to the earth, he persecuted the womb man, which brought forth the man child. He persecuted the womb man. All right. In that first instance, he persecuted Isreal, that black woman representing Israel, our mother, our nation, our idea of, you could say, nationality. They persecuted the womb man, right? In the prophetic sense, we see the Ethiopia connection, right? Are ye not as, right, the children of the Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel, Amos 9 and 7. But let's read on. Let's read on right here. Right? So he persecuted the womb man, which brought forth the man child. Right? Yes, so Lidge, that man child, Lidge Tafari, right? Speaking about the King of Kings, right, of Ethiopia. But that's part of the prophecy, the prophetic aspect. But if you don't know who you are, where you're from, you see what I'm saying, then this might not make that much sense. So we just deal with the basics, right? The basics right here, right? The first truth. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle. Right? So speaking about this remnant. So the woman was given 2 wings of a what? A great eagle. Right? A great eagle. So what would happen? That she might fly into the wilderness, into her place where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the face of the serpent. Right? From the face of the serpent. Now, this is so interesting. If I knew that the Holy Spirit would lead me here, I would have got the don't tread on me. You know that don't tread on me thing where it has a snake that's broken in pieces. And whose symbol is that? These very same ones that have so-called regained their power in America because of that first Trump, right? Because Trump is in office, right? You know what I'm saying? That new suit, that new Jesuit, right? So, hey, let's go on right here. So she would fly into the wilderness. It was given to her, 2 wings of a great eagle. Think about it for a moment. Some people talk about democracy and the Republican or Democrats, right? You know, Democrats and the Replicans or the Reptilians, you know what I'm saying? So there's these 2 parties, right? And they have it like a bird, right? The American eagle, right? It's a bird, right? That's an eagle, ain't it? So it has like these 2 wings, right? So it has like the left wing, right? And the right wing. Don't he talk about that? Hey, it's the left wing's in charge down. But the right wing is in charge down. The left wing, the right wing. You see what I'm saying? That's how the bird flies. You know, one wing, the next wing, one wing goes up. It has to make a turn like this. The next wing goes up. It balances off. Like that was what Obama was about when he was talking about it's not red states or blue states. It's that purple. Remember purple? That's that color of that whore that rides on the beast. And the beast is that system. Right, on the beast system. So we can see that this very clearly is also speaking of the once lost, now found black and brown sheep of the house of Israel here in the Americas, right? Verse 15. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman. Remember the Katrina thing? Check that out for a moment. Remember that Katrina thing? In New Orleans. It's interesting because if you recognize the history of that place, and just for my Rastafari people and brothers, even the Benjamites, you know, the first church of Rastafari was down there back in like the 20s and 30s. That's kind of very interesting as well, just to show that universality of the reception, right, of the King Messiah and the King of Kings among the remnant from that time. So we have the serpent here casting out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. Now, this is so very interesting, especially considering, you know, what has happened to the meltdown of the nuclear black family. You know how the whole nuclear black family has melted down in the past 40 years in this wilderness. Remember the 40 years, the Israelites, this was to come out, but they got turned about and turned around and they started wandering in the wilderness for 40 years. That's like black folks, you know, like after the 60s, wandering in this wilderness, the wilderness of North America. It's Honorable Elijah Muhammad that he even rightly identified this as the wilderness of North America, right? So right here it says that the serpent, right? You remember it says, don't tread on me, you know, join or die. That's that symbol they use, the snake, right? You know, they use that symbol. That's one of the Amorites. Those are the Amorites. I want you to just know those are the Amorites, the so-called Anglo-Americans, the Amorites. You see, that's that seventh head, you know what I mean, on the beast, right? That's that seventh head on the beast right there. The Anglo UK, right? USA, right? The Akur, or no, Akus, or if you spell it with the USA, Usuck, yeah. But UK, the Ukkery, fuckery, where the fuckery began, because that was actually, see, here's what's so very interesting. That's that empire right there. You have to understand, that's that seventh beast right there. You know what I mean? Then you get that people coming out of that people, the Anglo, right? England, America, right there. So let's go on right here. So we have the serpent casting out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he may cause her to be carried away of the flood. Now I mentioned Katrina just as one very important example, because you have to look at the time and the dispensation that happened in, and how that figures in the big prophetical picture. You see what I'm saying? The big prophecy. Verse 16, it says, "And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth." Right? So the earth helped the woman. Now, it's interesting looking at these in their prophetic types. Don't have the time to get into it right here, you know, but the earth, you know, we could say like the root race people, you know, the root race. You see the root race, the people of the earth, right? Because remember how Adam was made of that Adama, you know, the Adama, that reddish brown. So it's also speaking about the original, you know, the original peoples, you know, or those other peoples who are also being persecuted by the same dragon and serpent and so forth and so on. But this is the last part right here with verse 17, where here in the Scofield Study Bible says the Jewish remnant, but we know that's the black Jewish remnant, right? That black and that brown. Once lost, now found, that remnant. Verse 17, "And the dragon was wroth." That means he was very, very angry, in a rage, right? With the woman, right? And went to make war with the remnant of her seed. Went to make war with those who had remained, right? You have to remember that the dragon went after, you know, the woman and her children. Now went after the remnant. There was a remnant that had remained. So the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, right? Of her seed, which kept the commandments of Elohim, Baruch Hashem, which kept the commandments. This is the key here. Keeping the commandments, right, of Elohim, and have the testimony of Jesus Christos, of Yeshua, HaMoshiach, the testimony of our black Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Yes, I said black. Right there. Because see, otherwise you're worshiping, you know, the false icon, the false likeness, the false resemblance, right? And basically you're worshiping the devil there, and you're enslaved, just like in Egypt, that spiritual Egypt, you know, like in the sunken place, as you see on the screen right there, you see that slave ship sailing in the sea, right, of captivity, right? Sailing that sea of darkness, but the light is right there. You see? You see, even in that sunken place, the light is there, and that's the people, right? Child people, where he says, "You are the light of the world," right? But if that light is hidden, you know, how can you keep, it's like a fire. You can't keep on the bushel, right? They can't keep this suppressed, right? So it says right here that we're strangers, right? Right? The seed are strangers in a land that is not theirs. And they have done everything over these nearly 400 years to reinforce that idea, right? That this land is not ours. Well, the land is not theirs either. You understand? But, you know, support those to whom the land is. You know, our Native American brothers and sisters. I'm serious about this, because some of y'all are even after this so-called system is defeated, right? You're going to be in a very bad way, because you're going to try to say you'll have some rights under a false government, illegal government. You have to recognize that Babylon in the sight of heaven is illegal. But until Jah's children arise, until the rise of the black Messiah comes about, cannot really change it about, because Jah doesn't like a vacuum, right? You know, he allows, you know, the Gentiles to do what they do. You know, he allows the counterfeit church to do what it does, right, until his people, right, are ready to come to their rightful, right, to their rightful place, right? And that's happening, but the serpent sees that and is coming out in great wrath, right, against the remnant of the seed. And not just saying the seed just here in this North country, but we're speaking about on the face of the non-rotating earth plane, the plane earth. You see what I'm saying? You over this? So right here, let's go on. It says, and shall serve them. So even to this day, though, the chains, the stocks, and the bonds may not be on one's hands and feet, right? We see it's on the hearts and the minds. That's why they always talk about that. It's a heart and a mind campaign. It basically is a heart and a mind campaign. We have to build faith in our system, in the B system. All right. So here's what the boules, as we call them, come along. We're not just talking about the organization boule, right? We're just talking about what that is. Cause actually boule, it means what? Advisor, like counsel. I think advice in the Greek. Yeah, it's a Greek word, actually. You know what I mean? Who knew? Well, John knew, and I do too, and so do you. So, and shall serve them, right? Serve them. Like a lot of these coons, they're serving. They're serving that interest. I'm talking about the real coons, because like you don't know no history. You don't know what's what. You're just using words or things just because somebody is popular and trending. You know what I mean? On, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Don't want to start talking about them, bigging them up for what? And they shall afflict them. And they. All right. So the ones that you serve are going to afflict you. All right. Going to depress you. You see what I'm saying? Essentially, this word depress are going to ana, right? And then it has a lot of interesting, correspondence. One of them actually is, and not to go all into this right here, but one of them can be to rape you, right? But it basically, first of all, has a sense of depressing you, right? To oppress you, right? And if you look into this right here, it says through the idea, you see this right here? This word ana is through the idea of looking down. Remember the downtrodden? You know why they like to keep the downtrodden down? Because it gives them somebody to look down on. Look down on, right? When they're up in their ivory pyramid towers, you know what I mean? They're in their Trump towers, someone so they can look down on, right? Browbeating, that idea of browbeating. How come you black people can't be like the other immigrants that came over here recently and that we gave money and other legality to? How come you can't be like them? So they look down. That's the affliction. That's part of the affliction right there. KJV says to abase self. All right. So that gets so bad. That's what we talk about, self-hating black Jews, self-hating black and brown Jews, self-hating, Hebrews and Israelites. You know what I mean? They begin to hate their own heritage. Well, if we're Israelites, why would God do that to us? Why would God, just because we didn't follow the laws, statutes, and commandments, God would just let the white man do this to us? Hold on for a moment. Y'all trying to get around the white man's laws. You're recognizing that his laws are in effect. So you respecting his laws in some way, even recognizing, well, even if you don't like them and don't agree with them, they're still there. I mean, you're not that, you see what I'm saying? You're not about that kind of a revolution. You see what I'm saying? So why don't you get it? Right? Anyway, it means to affliction, right? To afflict self, to answer, right? They said by mistake for the 60-30, to chasten self. Right? To chasten self. Look at that. To be hard on yourself. How come we can't unite as black people like everybody else? You sound stupid. For real. You know what I mean? That just sounds stupid. Like, okay, if it's not stupid, it just sounds ignorant. Like you don't know. Like you really don't, you might know something, like you might have gone to school, and all for them to make you a fool and you can, throw around like, $1.50, $2, $3 words and shit like that. And, you got a degree and, you look down. Now you look down on your other black people because you got a degree and, Whitey and the B system says, very good. We like how you talk. You talk and walk very well. You know what I mean? So, you chasten yourself. You deal hard with others too. And even though you're a so-called success, right, in Babylon and the beast system, you don't really feel good about yourself. I mean, you try to make it seem like you do, you know what I mean? But you really don't. You know what I mean? Otherwise, you wouldn't present this fakery, you know what I mean, to live in the image of the beast. But anyway, let's go on. So it means to defile, right, to exercise, to force, right? On some level, it means gentleness and to humble self. You know, no need in fire, massa. Let's get along, massa. You know, okay, yeah, he did that, but Jesus says, did you really know what Jesus says? The one you call Jesus, at least? Anyway, to humble self, you know, so you're humble. Hurt, it means to ravish. You know, that's where the kind of idea of rape in some contexts can be found in the scripture, to rape, you know, because black people definitely, that's one thing that, Farrakhan Khan had said that was kind of interesting. You know, he said a few things, but this was one of them, how the relationship with America, you know, black people in America is like a woman. You know, for bad, you know, like a husband that batters her, like a battered woman and everything like that, you know, and then, you know, when she's ready to go, he's like, oh, please, and then she comes back and then it starts up again and kind of like in that cycle, you know, to submit. Look at this word. So they shall afflict, right? And why do they afflict? So that we can submit ourselves, you know, so that we can submit ourselves to the devil, right? And to evil, right? To weaken, right? To weaken. You see what I'm saying? So what you'll do is after you'll go to the plantation, you know, from Monday to Friday, then you take off on the weekend. You know, what you doing on the weekend and the weekend, you know, you know, and it just continues round about, you know, and like almost like the gerbil or the hamster, you know, that thing going around and around and stuff like that. That's how the Israelites were, like for 40 years. But we're speaking about the 400 years, but also in the context of the 40 years. That's another aspect of the prophecy from the scripture that also fits accurately, you know, without no special effects, you know, no special effects necessary. You know, the prophetic effect, the Exodus effect, you know what I mean? The Mandela defect. But anyway, let's go on. And they shall afflict them, right? And they shall afflict them. You know, the them there, right? Them there be we ancestors, you know what I mean? The black and brown sheep of the house of Israel, right? And us, you know, by connection, right, to them for 400 years. That is so interesting. See, so 1619. Do the math. 1619 plus 400 is what? Is 2019. All right. 2019. So what year is it now? It is 2017. You notice that years ago, if you notice this, years ago, they were talking about, oh yeah, 2020, we need to have this going by 2020. Yeah, this is very important by 2020. You'd be like, why all them trying to do that? What's happening at 2020? You know what I'm saying? Why would some people might have known, right? Maybe a lot of people didn't know, but ones knew that, especially the so-called, you know, the rulers, so-called, of Babylon. You know what I mean? The industrialists, the corporatists, and all the rest of the fascists. They knew these things, right? So they had to get certain things in place, right? And a lot of those things is these things that have, some things have been put in place. Some things they're desperately trying to get these things put in place, right? Even Theresa May, in that speech before Parliament, right, where she basically said that, you know, in the next 2 years, we got the next 2 years to kind of work out like the final finishing touches, because even they see that, wait, things are changing, you know, things are changing from above, right? Things are changing below, you know, things are changing down here on earth, right? And things are changing in heaven, you know, and they see this awakening. You know, what has been spoken about, that awakening, that they see the awakening happen. You know, they've been doing a lot to stop the rise of the black messiahs. Right? I didn't just say the black messiah, but the black messiahs. You know what I mean? And that righteous remnant, they've been doing a whole lot to stop it. And overall, they've been semi-successful, but they have not been as successful as they would have wanted to be or would have thought themselves to be. You know what I mean? By this particular time. Now, people say, well, this is Old Testament. You know, you got a lot of those niggers that would say this is Old Testament, you know, and also a lot of those Ofe too that would say that's Old Testament. You know, not only the Old Testament. I don't know what y'all are. Well, Anyway, Acts of the Apostles 7 and 6. You can go there, and Galatians 3 and 17. Right? Galatians 3 and 17. Let's go there quickly right there. We also have Exodus 12 and 40. Right? But that right there speaks about the length of time of the children of Israel in Egypt being 430 years. Some people say, well, that's exactly no, what the Israelites in Egypt experienced was a foreshadowing. Right? This prophecy here in Genesis 15 and 13 is for us in these latter days and times. You see what I'm saying? So right there, that was a foreshadowing of it. This is why the Passover, the Pesach, we're going to touch on a little bit more of that, God willing. You know, check us out. Well, if you're already here at the station, at the channel, you know, Rastafari Sabbatical, check out some of those videos concerning the Passover, the Messiah, you know, in this particular season, Melkam Fasika, you know, beautifully good Pesach, you know, Hag Ha, Pesach, you know, Sameach, as we would say. So let's go here to Acts 7 and 6. Let's go to Acts of the Apostles 7 and 6. So ones won't just say, oh, we're just in the Old Testament, right? But that's the groundation right there. You know, how can you have a renewed covenant? You see, you know, it's a renewed covenant. It's okay. So here, and Elohim, this is Acts of the Apostles 7 and 6. And Elohim spake on this wise, right? He spoke on this wise, in this way, that his seed, right? That whose seed? His, you see the word right here? His sperma. Let's go right here. You know, we talk about, well, who is your daddy? Who is your daddy? You see, they've been trying so much, hocus pocus. You know what I mean? I would call it voodoo, but then people get kind of the wrong, it's crazy ideas, but anyway. But they try so much witchcraft. You know what I mean? You know, Gentile witchcraft to make us not really see these things. You know what I mean? Remember that in the Old Testament, it was zera'ah, right? Which means seed, right? It could also mean seed like in the agricultural sense. Basically, that's the word there. But in the New Testament, in the Greek, you can see right here, or the Hebrewized Greek, it says sperma. Sperma. You know, sperm, super sperma, right? The G4690, it says something sown, seed, and it includes, you see right there in the parentheses, the male sperm. There you go. But you see, in the context of this verse right here, based on the groundational scripture, right, in Bereshith or in Genesis 15:13, is speaking of the black male sperm, the black male sperm of the black and brown sheep of the house of Isreal. That's what it's speaking about right there. That's why we say, well, who is your daddy? Right? You see, that's how we know who is ethnic. We talk about ethnic Israel. You know, by implication, it means offspring, right? So if they were ethnic Israel, right, and the black and the brown Hebrews and Jews, then we are their offspring, right? You know, because offspring, when that sperm was sprung off, you know what I'm saying? And then you see right here, especially it says a remnant. So you see that connection right there? So that seed is the black male sperm, the offspring of the black male, and that remnant of the black male of Kol Yasharel, Israel, the black Jews, black and brown Jews, right? A remnant, right? And then it says in a figurative sense, like a figure of speech, as if kept over for planting. Right? So save your seeds, you know, as if kept over for planting, you know, put it in good ground. Don't just, you know, it can't mean to scatter and sow it everywhere, but the sower went forth to sow, right? Seed. Now we know that in the sense of the Moshiach, that seed there is the word of the kingdom, right? So that's a figurative sense based on this earthly or this natural type. That's why the Messiah said, if I've told you, earthly things, like natural things, and you can understand it, then how are you going to understand spiritual things? People say, oh, why you say sperm? You know, anyway, your abuse, we will not take use of, right? That his seed should, so we know what it's speaking about, right? We get the idea. We know we're talking about people here, because people try to spiritualize this. They try to spook it out, like in some sense, like it's out of some nebulous, in the clouds somewhere we can't see it, so they can do some Project Blue Beam, to make you believe a lie. No, that his seed should sojourn. Interesting word, sojourn, right? Should, par oikos, having a home near or be like a dweller, like an alien resident in that sense. See, some of you say, I'm no alien resident. Our people have been here yeah, but the land is not yours. You're a stranger. You don't recognize that yet? Why are they treating us like that? They don't treat other people like, cause you're a stranger. The other people are not strangers to them. You are. And we be strangers. See? You see? Do you see? Do you hear, first of all? Right? Should sojourn in a strange land. Right? Allotrios. Another's land. Not one's own land. A foreign land. A hostile land. Right? A hostile land. This is so good right here. Let's see if we can just show you this right here. This video is actually going to be a little bit longer than we expected, but I think it's important to touch on this. Right? Allotrios, another's, not one's own. You see it right there? By extension, foreign, not akin. You're not akin. You say, well, Obama's the first black president. Yeah, but he's akin to them. I thought you knew. His mama. It matters what your mama is, right? If your mama is a Jew, then you're a Jew. His mama wasn't a black Jew. So, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So they made him president. But you looked at the outer things. You see what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? He looked like a black guy, and he was from Chicago, and he married a woman. I know some of you on that other stuff, but just say he married a woman, African American. You know what I'm saying? He married one of our people. You see what I'm saying? And that's where he got a couple of credit points from some in the community, but others just believe the lie, right? But right here is foreign. You see what it says hostile? You see what it says hostile right there? Hostile. You see that right there? Hostile. You wonder why there's so much hostility. Why they gotta be treating us like that? And then you have some of these pimps in the pulpit, right? These pastors, you know what I mean? Going out there, pastors, you know what I mean? Going out there saying the same thing like they don't understand shit. And they got a Bible under their arm. You know what I mean? You see what I'm saying? So right here, another men's strange, because he said, this system is the white people set this system up. So I think you should be able to get it then. Don't you get it? They set it up for who? Huh? See, what do you call it? 2/3 of the 3/5 and all that. Wow. Don't you get it yet? A strange land, and that they should bring them into bondage. Right? They should enslave. This thing's in the word bring here. You see what I'm saying? You see how they do this right here? Let me show you this right here. This is why you got to study to show yourself approved, Daniel says that they shall go to and fro and knowledge shall increase. That's the technology right here. The modulation and demodulation, the ones and the zeros, the binary, all of that digital stuff, right? This word is doulo. Doulo mean to enslave. But then they have it in the translation in KJV, King James Version 7 and 6, to bring, right, into bondage. Right? And both of those words, let me show you this right here so you can see what I'm talking about right here. Right? It says down here, follow the verse right here. It says, and that they should, you see this right here? That they should, doulo, enslave them into bondage. This is interesting. That they should, notice that they should enslave them into slavery. Bring them, slave them into slavery, right? Or enslave them, right? And entreat them evil. Get that? Not just does it say that they would bring them, enslave them into slavery, but what do you think this is in these Jonah type ships, right? These whale of a belly, the whale of a belly of a whale type slave ships that they had the blasphemy to call USS Jesus, right? To mock our black Lord and Savior, Yeshua, right? But you know, he who laughs, he's laughing at them because their day is coming. They know their day is coming. So they panic like rats, you know, when the more cats come on the scene and entreat them, right? Evil and entreat them evil. Kaku. That's the Greek word, kaku, right? All that kaka. So the people laugh, you say Amerikaka, right? But you see the prophecy of it, the prophetic, right? That word right there to entreat them evilly is kaku. You see it? The G2559. Kaku. Kakao. Someone say kakao if they want to, you know, play around with the Greek. You know what I mean? To injure, right? To exasperate, right? I'm tired of this. We tired. All this stuff happened. Tired of this shit. It gets exasperating, right? That's to make evil affected, to entreat evil, to harm, to hurt, to vex. Why they be treating us like that? Right? And get to the root. Get to the root. Right here. This is the root. Kakos. Kakos. Kakos, the G2556 means worthless. Right? To treat black people as though they're worthless, depraved. What's wrong? Why they shooting? You know, why they fighting back? You know what I mean? Why are they trying to defend themselves? Why are they trying to have a little bit of reserve of manhood or womanhood? Why are they doing that? You know, to treat you like kako, right? Kako, depraved, injurious, right? So you can see it right here. Bad, evil, harmful, ill, noisome, right? Noisome, wicked, right? So that's what's happening, and that's what's happened, right? And then you could trace it to poneros, right? Poneros, like ponero, you know? Hurtful, evil, calamitous, ill, disease, culpable. You see? You say, why in a court case, it's always the black person, right? Whenever the black man, he's always guilty when the white man does the same thing. Why doesn't the Lord treat it, Lord, right? Why doesn't the Lord treat us the same way? And if you go to the Genesis 15:13 again, it goes to that groundation, rewind this thing, right? Culpable, right? That you're culpable. Say you did it. I didn't do it. I wasn't even, just say you did it. I'll plea bargain for you. You get less time. That's better than getting all your life. So, you know, you're culpable, right? Right? In a moral sense, you see, especially morally, right? Derelict. You're vicious, right? Atrociously wicked. And that's how they talk, don't it? They talk just like that, right? Mischief, malice, guilt, you know, like the devil, you know, the black man, you see the masculine singular sense is the devil. The black man's a devil. You know, whenever the black man, you know, the white girl's a whore. The white guys knew she was a whore. You know what I'm saying? But now the black man did what the white man do. He's the devil. He's the devil. He treated that. Now her status comes up. You know, she returns to the what? Anyway, like sinners. All black people, degeneracy. And we don't have time to get into this word. We have to return to this word right here. You know, because you can see it links to other links right there. So you can think, you know what I mean? You know, you can get a mind again, get out this mindlessness. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, so to treat them, right, to evil, to entreat evil. So not only they bring our ancestors into bondage, into this beast system, right? But also in the beast system, because it's one thing you could bring them in the beast system, but now you're going to evil and treat them evil, you know, like caca, like shit. You know what I mean? For how long? 400 years. So you see it right there, right? 400 years, right? So one more verse of the New Testament right here. Let's see if we get to Galatians 3:17. We'll go into the fullness of this right here. You know, Galatians 3:17. And this I say, that the covenant was confirmed before of Elohim, Baruch Hashem, in Moshiach, in the Messiah. The law, which was 430 years after, cannot disannul that it should make the promise of none effect. right? The promise of that which is to come to pass and that which is coming to pass. So just touching on some of these verses right here. There was one verse returning to Genesis 15:13, because this is the groundation of the prophecy right here concerning the 400 years, and this 2017 is the 398th year according to the accepted record that it was 1619, right, when our ancestors were first brought over here to this land which is not ours, even as the prophecy in Deuteronomy 28 and 68, that goes along with this. And let's read it right here. And also that nation. So see, they were already a nation of people, right? They were already a nation of people, Goy, right? Goy, a foreign nation, Goy, Gentiles, a troop of animals, a flight of locusts, Goy. See, Goy had a sense of massing together, a mass of people. Because the Anglos over here that later became the Americans, they came over here with charter from that beast, that seventh head on the beast. Right? It was a seventh or sixth head on the beast. Right there. You know, it was a seventh head on the beast. Right? Talking about the United Kingdom, Great Britannia, the Tin Lady. Right? That woman, you know what I mean? And the prophecy, and also that nation. So the people who came over here, even before they set up a nation, they were already that Anglo people over there. They just broke away from them. Right? Whom they shall serve, whom our ancestors serve. So people say, oh, I didn't have no slaves. I didn't have no slaves over here. Okay, well, you meant whether you did or not. I mean, are you of that nation? You see, John is talking about the nation right here. You try and take it all personal on us. You know, we're talking about a nation, right? Whom our ancestors shall serve and did serve, right? That same word, abad there, right? I will judge. Right? John is going to judge. And this is what we get to see in this prophetic, this time space, continuum, you know, in this event horizon right here. We see the setting up and on the coming of that judgment, that written judgment, as it is written. Will I judge? Right? And afterward. So it's going to be afterward, right? And afterward shall they come out with great substance. That's interesting right there. It says, and afterward they shall come out with great substance. Right? So there is an Exodus. You see that link of Exodus right here. That's why the Passover is so very important. Right? You know, for even a black or brown one who says that they are in the true Lord and Savior, our black Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, Passover is so very important. All right. Of course, resurrection, first fruits day that you falsely call Easter. Stop calling that. That's a false goddess. That's a so-called false god. That's another god. You know what I mean? Maybe you didn't know before, but now you know. You know what I mean? So it's not like one can use that as an excuse. So here concerning Abraham was said, Abraham, that he would go to the fathers in Shalom and be buried in a good old age. You can carry this up to the 16th verse. Boom. Here. But in the fourth generation, right? The fourth generation, right? Some people liken this fourth generation to that 400th year. The fourth generation, the fourth part, the fourth generation. In that fourth generation, that fourth revolution of time or age or generation, right? They shall come hither, right? They shall come, henna, here. They shall come here again, right? They shall return to some sort of a condition. You know how it seems like things are kind of going back to how they were, like making America great again? People are like, well, that sounds like some past shit. That sounds like some shit that was past time. Like we've come hither, we've come here again. Why? Because the iniquity, the Awan, the Awan, right? The Awan, actually, the Awan, right? The Awan, right? It says the perversity, moral evil. Right? America has become a very greatly demoralized place. I mean, it always had its, it always had its bad roots, as it were. You know what I mean? Considering those who set it up, and where they came from and what they were really about. So that comes from this word right here. Awa, or Iwa. That means to crook, like their crookedness, their crook-heartedness, right? To do amiss. to bow down, to make crooked, to commit iniquity, to pervert, perversely, to trouble, to turn, to do wickedly, to do wrong. Well, of course, because when it says that they should be entreat them evilly, right? It's because they don't really have the capacity to do otherwise. To some extent, they don't have the capacity to do otherwise, not of themselves. You know, if they repent and recognize the truth of our black Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, you know what I'm saying? And who really are the real Israelites, you know, according to Jah word and the reality, you know, Jah can give grace, you know. They cannot do it of themselves, but nothing's impossible for our good Father, you know what I mean? But they still worship their father, the devil. You see what I'm saying? Whether it's through popery or through any other of their delusions, evil, angelism, evangelism, all that stuff. All that is just iniquity. For the iniquity of the Amorites, now we get to find out. Amorite, Amorica. They really name it after themselves. Amorica. Amorite, Amorica. Now, this is one of the Canaanitish tribes, right? First, somebody will say it was another tribe, but no, this is the tribe right here. The iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full, right? Has not reached to, here we go right here. It has not come to Shalem. Not Shalom, Shalem, right? Has not come to full. So that word for full, when we look at it in the Hebrew here, is Shalem. See that? That almost like peace, right? Like peace, you think that's peace? Let's look at this word right here. Shalem has not yet come to Shalem. What is Shalem? Well, it can mean complete. It's not yet complete. Basically, it's not paid yet. That's what Shalem also, people like, they know it like shalom. Well, yes, but it can also mean to make peace or to pay up. Right? To pay up. So when we say shalom, they think, oh, we mean some pace, some kind of nonsense like the Gentiles think. But no, we're looking at our roots, right? Especially friendly. Now, here's what's interesting with this right here. Shalem has not come to reciprocity. Bottom rail on top, massa. You know, they keep fighting against that. You see what I'm saying? And that's why there's no peace. You know, that's why there's no peace, you know. So when you go right here, it's from shalom. That means to be safe in mind, body, or estate, right? To be completed, to make completed, to be friendly, to reciprocate, right? To reciprocate. You know, you see, they talk about, oh, that's reverse racism. You see, when they open up their dirty mouth and even begun to say shit like that, it's not yet full now. You know, now there's more you gotta pay. It's almost like Jah charges them interest, you know, for saying that uckish. They charge interest. Things get worse and not better, you know, cause it shows their hypocrisy. You see what I'm saying? It basically shows their hypocrisy before God and man, right? And his word, he says, heaven and earth will pass away before one jot or tittle of his word will be fulfilled, paid up, right? Paid up. Right? Doesn't mean that he's going to force them, but maybe the situation, you know, and circumstances will force maybe at least a remnant or just bring in the full judgment. You know, whether there's a few that remain or there's many that remain. You know, there'll probably be some that will remain. Hey, look at the word right here. Shalem. Shalem means requital, recompense. You see how that word is recompense right there? That's connected with the shalem word that we just pointed to, that in Genesis 15 and 16 is the word full. It has not come here, hinna or henna, shalem. It has not come to requital. They have not been requited. They keep talking about, oh, haven't we paid enough? How much must we do? How much? Did Jah tell you it's enough? You see what I'm saying? You know, did Jah prophet tell you it's enough? Oh, you agree that iniquity is rising up again. Okay, that's what it is. Okay, look at the word right here. We have Shelem. You see Shelem, the H8002, Shelem, it means requital, right? In the sense of Kol Yasharel in Israel, right? Speaking of the true ethnic black and brown Israel, it was a voluntary sacrifice in thanks. A voluntary, you see that? See, they expect, some think you sort of force it from the no, to make them feel guilty or nothing. You gotta make somebody feel guilty for what's going on? Come on now. Oh, and they want to say, well, it wasn't me, it wasn't my ancestors or whatnot like that. You talking stupid. That's just stupid right there. You see what I'm saying? You know, but then again, you know, the Bible speaks about the foolishness of the Gentiles, doesn't it? Even Paul, remember Paul in the New Testament? We're not sinners of the Gentiles. Paul, yeah, Paul said that. Apostle Paul. So you see where here? This is peace offering. A peace offering. You want peace? Where's the voluntary sacrifice and thanks? You know, sometimes ones that might be well-meaning among the Gentiles, they do a little something, and it's like, now we owe them, like now they're going to bill us and shit. You know what I'm saying? You see, there can't be no justice, no peace like that, you know? And they don't recognize it's not us, right, that has said this. It's our Father. It's their Creator. He's our Creator too, but, you know, we have come to that sonship in our black Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. You know, they might think that they've come to that too, but, you know, if you still are worshiping the little spook thing, no color thing, you denying they came in the flesh, or you just don't want to say the truth. That means that there's a lie in you, a spirit of a lie, right? Here it says shalom. Shalom is prosperity, you know, but every time they see the prosperity of black and brown people, even when it was hard earned, is a problem. Have you noticed that's a problem? Black man driving a new car, he must be a drug dealer. You know, get out the car, get on the ground, better not move, pop, 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 pop. Oh, he rushed at the gun and such and such. And, you know the story. Shalom, look at this one. Shalom means to complete, to restore. Restore. What have they restored? 40 acres and a mule? People talked about it, but, you know, they thought it was a joke. No. If they had did that, then even when Spike Lee, well, not Spike Lee so much, but you know what I'm saying? Even at that time where it was a big thing right there, they could have done something. They could have begun. You see what I'm saying? But they talk about the native, the red man, the Native American. He's like a Indian giver. No, you a devil. You know what I mean? Because of your deeds. Your deeds show you're a devil. I mean, even their own people, they like to play around with the devil. The devil is like their thing. You know what I mean? I don't know. Not for all of them, but still. You know, this is their nation. That's what it said, right? The nation that we shall serve. So you said, you're part of this nation. That's that fuck shit. That's that, you know, that's that fornication under the crown. F-U-C-K, fornication under the crown. See, some of our people, they're so lost, they're so caught up in Caesar's anti-Christianity, they don't really understand. We're talking about, like, around the Ark of the Covenant, you know, there's a crown, and in the Ark is God's word. So when, you know, you do anything under that covenant that's away from that, like he says that we're not a part of that nation, and you want to say we are a part of that nation, you see what I'm saying? That's fuckery. That's fornication and fuckery in his sight. Yeah, it's a crime.